Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. So Bitcoin is recovering once again as expected. And today I want to talk about the massive interest for Bitcoin that is building among the wealthy. It's been building for some time, but I want to show you guys a CNBC interview with UBS, a private wealth manager, who was asked about Bitcoin, and she says, yeah, interest is growing, it's massive, and this is one of the things that's going to propel Bitcoins a lot higher. We know institutions are FOMOing, retail investors not quite there yet, but his FOMO is building, right? But wealthy investors, accredited investors, public trade companies, everyone is starting to FOMO into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is looking like it wants to go much higher. In fact, I put out a video yesterday talking about Bitcoin ETF. That's another driver that can push Bitcoin much higher. But today, I want to talk about the massive interest among the wealthy for getting a piece of the pie, a piece of Bitcoin. So thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, smash up the likes, smash it up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and make sure you follow me on Twitter and Facebook. And let's get started. There's a lot to cover. As always, there's a lot to cover every day, so make sure you tune in. I have these streams 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. But first, let's start with this. Yeah, JP Morgan, the biggest bank, I believe, out there, at least a publicly traded bank, which Bitcoin surpassed in market cap a while ago. They are now predicting that Bitcoin can go and rise over $146,000. I don't know why they don't just round it up to $150,000, but they are predicting $146,000, and that is because it is growing in popularity as an alternative to gold. And they have come out before and said the same thing, where they believe a large amount of gold is going to be eaten away by Bitcoin as time goes on. And we have seen that already. Jefferies fund said that they were going to sell up to 5% of their gold to buy Bitcoin with, right? So that is already happening. And now JP Morgan, just like all the other banks, are making some bold predictions about where Bitcoin could go. 146,000, 150,000, I believe that could just be the beginning. You know, 200, 300, 400, 500 million dollars could be soon after this. So despite the fact that Bitcoin is right around 33,000 today, which may seem expensive for some, imagine when Bitcoin is at $150,000, and you'll be thinking, well, 33,000 is actually pretty darn cheap. So that is according to JP Morgan. Of course, we heard Citibank say that Bitcoin could go as high as $300,000. Guggenheim, they said it could go up as high as $400,000, especially when you compare it to scarcity of gold. And even ARK Invest, Kathy Wood said that Bitcoin can go up as high as $400,000 to $500,000 because of adoption, institutional adoption, FOMO. Right? And wealthy investors just basically all getting in and wanting a little slice of the Bitcoin pie, which is now becoming very, 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 very small and very, very hard to attain. To even get a small slither, right? Just a small piece is now costing you a good amount of money, and that good amount is going to only increase. All right, so before I get to everything else, I want to show you guys this clip that I found. So TD Ameritrade and also UBS, they were asked to come on. Now, TD Ameritrade, to be honest, didn't say a whole lot, but they do offer Bitcoin futures, which maybe I covered before, but I totally forgot. But UBS, this is the one that's more interesting. Now, they're a private wealth investor. Basically, they handle funds for all these very wealthy individuals. And she talks about, whether or not interest is building and why are they buying Bitcoin, and basically give reasons why this is happening now. So this is a good watch. So let me put on my headset here. We can watch this together. There's not a whole lot for me to react to in this one because this is not like a clip where where she says something like really stupid or something like a lot of CNBC analysts. It's just good knowledge. So I think you guys will be interested in hearing about the wealthy. So let me get this ready here. Let me get that. All right, let me turn this on. And all right, let's do this.
Strategist at TD Ameritrade, and Ali McCartney, Managing Director at UBS Private Wealth Management. Ali, always love to hear from you what your wealthy and sophisticated investors are doing. How much interest is there right now in Bitcoin, and what are you telling them to do about allocation?
There's a lot of interest, and there has been a lot of interest for a significant amount of time. Remember that a lot of very wealthy individuals, even those that have made their money in very traditional finance sources, take risk, and they understand the concept of taking risk. Now, the weird thing about this is you're talking about sort of a means of exchange, a currency, which exactly opposite of a normal currency, doesn't have the ability to pay your taxes and has, at this point, very limited demand but unlimited supply. I think the thing is that
real quick, I just want to make a quick point. She was saying you can't pay taxes. Well, in the state of Ohio, you can. They opened it up. And I do believe other states will take it. And I believe federally, they'll probably take Bitcoin pretty soon. But, you know, they want you to pay your taxes in Bitcoin because then they know who you are so they could track you. So I'm pretty sure that's coming right around the corner.
Individuals that act like institutions, i.e. not retail individuals, are getting in now as an asset allocation play. And that, I think, is why you see such a run-up, is that you're having some really big buys.
What about you, JJ? Have you guys had to expand your offerings in the space at TD Ameritrade for retail investors?
Yeah, you know, Sarah, we don't have Bitcoin itself, but the products we do have, including Bitcoin futures, you know, we see 150% lift there. Some of the names like Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, we see 170% quarter over quarter growth. Then you have things like MSTR, which in August invested so much money in Bitcoin. Quarter over quarter, we see a 1,400% lift in the amount of trading and positions held there. So what's really interesting to me about Bitcoin, maybe more than any other product I've seen, is the fact of how many people become more interested as the price goes higher. I guess that makes sense, of course, but the amount of people we...
Sorry, I have to stop right there. What? That was a pretty stupid statement. The interest builds as the price goes up. I think that's pretty obvious, right? And I think he realized that was a stupid statement to make, so he's trying to downplay what he just said.
You see that really have interest as it starts to get starts at the 10,000, then over 20,000. We really saw a flood of people become much more interested in it than we had seen at any other time before this.
Ali, when you speak to your clients about Bitcoin, do you get a sense of what they want it in their portfolio for? Is it to go alongside their most risky bets like Tesla and Zoom, or is it something that they see as a potential hedge to equities and something that they want to buy in place of their bonds?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent it's been a moving target, right? The story of the first couple of years was that here was a store of value that was apolitical and could be a diversifier. And then you fast forward, and to my colleague's point, you see the numbers going up, which always gets people interested. You see the adoption in the form of Bloomberg Galaxy Index. Then you go to Fidelity being a custodian. Now you're at PayPal letting you buy and sell with it. So adoption's going up, price is going up, and the lack of available alternatives in the market in terms of being diversifiers, right? Bonds have largely gone out the window in terms of the relative risk return. So I think all three of those, and once you see the credentialing mechanisms of large pension funds and sovereign entities, which you've just seen major buying, which I think is what's taken this from sort of 25,000 up to where it was this weekend, you start to really get some credentialing mechanisms. And by the way, unlike a retail investor, the assumption there is that these aren't speculators. These are long-term buy and holds that can create some sort of substantive floor for the currency.
See, that's an important note. Okay, that's an important point because I've been told this. Well, I mean, I've been telling you guys this, right? How I feel like after this 4-year cycle, which supposedly ends in 2021, there may never be another cycle in terms of we're going to see like a huge 85% drop and then for it to come back up. That cycle, you know, where there's a parabolic rise and then it comes down and then slowly comes back up and down, that may go away because of the institutions. They're not buying for a year. They're buying to hold, right? Like what she said, basically they could put a price floor. So after 2021, let's say Bitcoin is at $300,000, it could just stay at $300,000 forever and only go up from there. Obviously, there's still the halving event, which occurs every 4 years, but it could just slowly build up from there and never really take a huge drop again. So this could be one gigantic super cycle that never really ends. And that's basically what she's saying too.
How does it correspond overall, JJ, with the mood and the appetite for taking on risk from retail investors right now, whether it's stocks, tech stocks in particular? How closely is it tied?
Well, I think the bigger thing for this that we really try and educate people on overall, Sarah, is the fact that it trades nonstop. It keeps going. As you know, Ellie just got done talking about it, trading this weekend. I think that's a big, sort of step for many people. What is interesting, and I think Ellie brought up a good point there, is we also see a lot of our older skewed investors who want to be involved there. I think there's this sort of narrative out there that it's only young people who care about this. We've actually seen a very nice mix in terms of the ages that are attracted to the products that are related to Bitcoin, and I think that that's very important. So you do have people who are using it obviously speculatively, but you have people who have it as part of a core of their portfolio. Of course, maybe not as big a percentage as they're going to have in fixed income or things like that, but there are people who are now starting to add up more to their portfolio, so it's starting to become more and more of an accepted asset base.
So that's an important piece of information that he should have led with. But basically, Bitcoin is not just for millennials, right? It's not just for young people that simply, doesn't care about gold or anything else. They just want Bitcoin, right? It's not that at all. So what he said is basically a good mix. You have teenagers, 20s, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. They're all interested in Bitcoin, maybe for different reasons, but it's a good spread, for the age groups. It's not just for the young people, right? It's everyone. So that's pretty important. Anyways, that's it for the clip. So I thought it was pretty interesting to hear, especially about what wealthy investors are doing, right? She makes a good point about this could be basically a cycle that lasts forever. She didn't say it that way, but she's saying they could basically set a price floor because they're not buying it really as a speculative thing. They're buying it for a long hold, right? And also this guy from TD Ameritrade added a few things, such as the fact that it's not just young people that's buying Bitcoin, right? It's all over. So this is pretty good. I mean, small little tidbits, these are the kind of things that I consider like behind the scenes stuff. Right? No one's going to come out and make a headline and talk about this kind of video. But if you hear what they're saying, you add these things up, right? Then you know what's actually happening behind the scenes. Because these are the things that you don't hear about, right? They don't openly share it unless, they share little bits here and there. So it's a good watch. Good watch overall. All right, moving on from here. This is also pretty big. So this was announced yesterday. U.S. federal regulator says banks can now conduct payments using stablecoins. That's pretty interesting. Now, it does not come as a surprise to me because we already know that JP Morgan have the JP Morgan coin and others are coming out their own coins, right? So they probably push pretty hard for this to happen. But overall, this is pretty positive. Basically, banks can now use stablecoins. Right? So any federally regulated bank can use stablecoins to conduct transactions. So this is kind of like a stepping stone, of course, right? This is horrible actually if you think about it, this is horrible for Ripple because now they could utilize any stablecoin. They could use Tether. They could use USDC. They could use their own, right? They don't have to be limited to XRP. However, this is horrible. This is horrible for Swift, Swift, which traditionally has, has the market cornered in terms of if you want to make a transaction from one bank to another, right, or to a vendor, and you want to verify that payment, right? Basically, you use Swift. But now you don't have to. You can use blockchain and stablecoins to do that. So that's pretty positive. So this is almost like a nail in the coffin for Swift and anything that's like it. This is like the beginning of something new, right? And so overall, I think this is very positive for the crypto industry, except I don't think it's positive for XRP. And there is something else that's very bad about XRP that I'm going to share with you guys right now. But Grayscale, of course, Grayscale, their clients just continue to buy and buy and buy, right? Wealthy investors, institutional investors, whoever, they continue to just keep buying more and more and more Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin Grayscale Trust is now close to $20 billion, $19.2 billion. This number just keeps going up and up and up and up, and I can't even keep track anymore because they just keep buying so much. In December, they purchased 3 times the amount of Bitcoin versus how much is being mined, right? So it's just insane. This number keeps going up, and take a look at Ethereum too. Ethereum has been going up quite a bit. Ethereum Grayscale Trust, $3 billion. Now, some of that is due to Ethereum's price jump, but still, they've been adding. So it kind of does show you the insight into some of these institutional investors and credit investors and just wealthy in general, that they're not only paying attention to Bitcoin now, they're paying attention to Ethereum, which could be a very, very, very good thing. But what's not good is XRP. This XRP trust has been going down, and unfortunately today, Grayscale have just announced they have liquidated all XRP assets, and they have distributed that into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. Okay, so most of it in Bitcoin. But going forward, basically, Grayscale will not touch XRP until this lawsuit is settled with the SEC. So it's not good for XRP. I mean, basically any exchange or brokerage or anyone involved with XRP has suspended it or delisted it within the United States. Now, around the world, not yet. That could follow, but who knows, right? But right now, it's just not. All this is not helping XRP rise up. Yeah, not helping at all. All right, what else is there? Peter Schiff. So I tweeted this out yesterday. Again, Peter and anyone else that's a naysayer of Bitcoin, they continue to do so because this is like their main. This is like their main way of attracting attention to themselves. Like, no one really cares anymore about what Peter says about the economy. He has been saying for 10 years. He built no base. His base now is basically Bitcoiners going against what he says, and he knows that, which is why every other tweet is about Bitcoin. But just take a look at this statement. The problem with holding Bitcoin is that it only works until it doesn't. If you decide in advance to close your eyes and never sell, no matter what happens to the price, and ignore any negative news that may create FUD, what happens if the next Bitcoin bear market never ends? Well, let's just replace Bitcoin here, okay? Let's replace that with anything. You could replace that with Apple, Amazon. You could replace that with Tesla. You could replace that with gold. It's the same thing. You're trying to create FUD by saying, okay, what if the next bear market never ends? What if the current bull market never ends? How about that? How about we think about Bitcoin in this super cycle that never ends and there is no more bear market? How about that? I mean, this kind of blanket statement just makes no sense because if you're fearful that the next bear market never ends, then you would never invest anything in the first place. You would never buy anything. You would just keep everything in cash, right? And that's the worst thing you could do right now as your buying power decreases. It's like one of those things. Hey, Peter, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? All right, so moving on from here. Lastly, before I get into Q&A, I just want to clarify because there was some, I had a problem, a technical problem last Monday. Remember, I had a 3-part series about nulls. Last Monday, I forgot to turn on my screen. So I was just chatting away with my face, and I thought many people liked it. But, you know, some people complained that they couldn't see the screen, and people from the Null side complained that they couldn't see what I was talking about, even though they knew what I was talking about. So I just want to re-talk about the SEO portion that I covered last Monday about nulls, because some of you guys are nulls fans, nulls holders, bag holders for a while. You may not be aware of this, so I want to cover really quick, and then let me get into Q&A. So for nulls, in terms of staking, they're not proof of work. They're not proof of stake, kind of. They're using proof of credit mining, which is a new way to stake and it's a new way to earn rewards for users, and a new way for projects to also get funding for their projects. So it's actually a genius way if you think about it from both sides, right? So why is this? Okay, let's first talk about why is this good for you and I, for anyone else that already has nulls, right? So you could stake, of course, right now and get nulls in return as stake rewards, but you can now stake also into these new projects that is coming on board, right? That is built on top of Null's blockchain, or you know, built with Chain Factory, Chainbox, whatever, right? But the thing is, if they run a coordinator node, you can now stake your nulls, so you don't have to sell it. It's not like participating in an ICO or IEO. You can simply stake your nulls, retain that, and earn rewards from that project. So it's like a really low risk thing to do if you believe in the project. And there have been some that came out that's pretty good, like Alpha is one of them, right? So it's a really risk-free way for a nulls bag holder to basically stake and collect rewards of the tokens of the new project without ever losing their nulls. So that's a great thing. So that is number one. And number two, if you are a project, right, you're building upon nulls, and then you want to collect funds, right? So basically you run this coordinator node. Anyone that stakes their nulls, right, you give them your project tokens, but in return, the nulls that they're supposed to collect go to you as a project, right? So you are generating something as well, right? So you're collecting something. So it actually, if you think about it, it works for both sides. As a project, you're collecting rewards, nulls rewards, and then as a staker, you're also collecting rewards from that project. So it works for both sides. And it's a really genius way if you think about it in terms of staking. And as far as any other project, any other altcoin, no one else has this staking mechanism. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Anyways, I just wanted, like I said, I want to talk about this. This is what I covered on last Monday. So in case you guys weren't aware, now you are. And check out nulls if you are interested. All right, looking at Bitcoin, so 32,500. Obviously, this is a little bit better than yesterday and a little bit better than at nighttime. So Bitcoin has been going up and down now, right? So after it hit 34.8, basically, it shot up there so fast, right? So now we're seeing a little volatility going up and down, up and down. And of course, some of the bears like Peter Schiff and just jealous people would come out and say, oh, don't worry, it's going to drop to 10,000 or 14,000 or it goes drop. No, it's not. It's not going to do any of that. So recently we had a big dip. Yesterday's video was about me missing that dip. Dropped to about 27,000. Yesterday it dropped to 30,000, but boom, right back up. So now it looks like 30,000 is the new support. And that's not too shabby because it's 30,000. Yeah, 30,000 is 30,000, right? So Bitcoin is building upon that, is slowly rising up. Yesterday I said, I think by the end of the week, we're going to be back up to 34.5. And then probably the weekend, we're going to see another tremendous jump, just like the last few weekends. But who knows? Maybe we move even faster than that, right? Who knows? Bitcoin is just, it's the gravy train that have left the station. It just keeps going, going, going. So who knows where it's going to be, right? But one of the good side effects from Bitcoin now stalling a little bit is the fact that altcoins started going up, right? Altcoins went up in a big way. BTC dominance, about 68%. So it's about 4% lower than a few days ago, right? So today, a pretty good day right? Ethereum is up 6% and is now back over $1,000, closing at 1,100. Remember, I've said this: institutional investors are now paying attention to Ethereum, so this could help drive prices up. It could. Does not mean you should FOMO all into Ethereum, but just keep that in the back of your minds. But yeah, not only Ethereum, Litecoin, Polkadot, Cardano's up in a big way today. Look at all the altcoins, right? Every single altcoin is basically in green, except Tron. I have no idea what's going on with Tron anymore, but VeChain is back up, Uniswap, Tezos, right? A lot of project Aave. I just talked about Aave yesterday. Cosmos, Neo, even IOTA. IOTA came back in a big way. Doesn't really make any sense to me, but they did. Basically, today is a good day, right? But this is what happens. This is what happens when Bitcoin stalls out a little bit. The money flows into altcoins, so you get a side benefit. So you get two benefits. One is you get some time to let Bitcoin breathe, let the indicators reset, and it gives you time to dollar cost average if you need to, right? And also, it helps the rest of you bag holders, right? All your altcoins is now starting to catch up again. You're gaining on BTC value, and that's what you want. Because that's the whole point of holding altcoins, is to gain value, make it grow faster in BTC, because if it's not, then you're just losing that way, right? So that's pretty good. All right, said a lot there. Let me switch it back to you guys for some Q&A. I kind of heard that yesterday, J Money, about Celsius moving to Cardano. That would be good. I mean, I think right now, all DeFi projects, right, is debating whether or not they should move off of Ethereum, because Ethereum's network is so congested. I mean, each transaction costs like $40, $50, $60, $70, right? It's just insane. So unless you plan on making a ton of money with DeFi or with lending or something, no one is going to conduct a transaction on Ethereum. So yeah, it makes sense that Celsius, Aave, all these other players, even Dexes probably, are thinking about moving off right now, right? But then they're stuck in a hard place, because like it's a huge effort to, first of all, move off Ethereum. But then, Ethereum is right at the cusp of moving to proof of stake. They already have that beacon chain up, right? So it's just a matter of time that's done. So do you wait it out? Do you wait it out a little bit more, or do you move? Both ways, it's going to take some time. So I think that's what they're dealing with, or most of them are dealing with. What do you think about the Ukraine news about XLM? I didn't hear anything about that. Sid says, George, I should have paid attention to your hodl it poster. I've learned my lesson this time. Concentrate mostly on Bitcoin and follow a few Big Ten. Yeah. I mean, it's life goes on. We all make mistakes, right? But if you simply just expand your time frame a little bit, right? Nothing has outperformed Bitcoin, and nothing will going forward. But short time, short bursts, there will be times where altcoins really dominate, right? Altcoin season, for example, and there's many altcoin seasons. But that's why I think right now 75-25 is a good makeup for portfolio. 75% Bitcoin, 25% in altcoins, possibly the big caps, and that way you can benefit. You get protection of Bitcoin, and you get the gains of Bitcoin, but then you also get gains of altcoins if they explode, right? At least I think that's a good makeup right now. Now, maybe latter half in 2021 when Bitcoin is already at $300,000 and it's slowing down and it's obvious that the money is starting to flow onto altcoins. Well, maybe then you can put a little more into altcoins, right? But Bitcoin is always going to be the name of the game. That's not stopping anytime soon. It sounds like someone's missing my buy button. I don't think anything about base, so I can't comment on it. Overnight trading in Asian markets about to take ETH and BTC to the moon. Yeah, I mean, periodically. Like right now, what's happening is most of the buying is from North America, and you know, statistics actually show it. Asian countries haven't really caught up yet. But, you know, this is part of the FOMO process, right? A lot of institutions and public trade companies from the US specifically have started, you know, they started the FOMO train, right? Now others from other countries are now looking into and starting, you know, they're feeling the FOMO, they want to get in, right? So it's a progress. But just wait until every company and institution and wealthy investor and retail investor, when they all want a slice of Bitcoin, when they all want to buy a little amount or a large amount, right? That FOMO is going to be so big. It's so big that we can't even comprehend it. You know, being as big as it is now at 600 billion, this is nothing when, you know, in a year we see this at 1, 2, 3, 5, $10 trillion. Right? It's just really the beginning. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. So overall, hopefully this video kind of showed you guys, gave you a little glimpse into what the wealthy is doing. There's massive interest that's building up, right? And they all want to dive in, and it's not just a younger crowd. It's basically spread out everywhere. So this FOMO, you know, is just building. Now, you know, every bank, basically every week you hear about a bank or some analyst or some strategist or someone that is coming out and giving a bold figure. These figures now are like a dime a dozen, but, you know, the reality of it is that they're all true. I do believe Bitcoin will surpass all these figures. I think it's going to surpass 150,000. I think it's going to surpass 250,000 that Tim Draper said, right? I think it's going to surpass 300,000, which is what Citibank said. Now, 400,000, 500,000, I think once we get up there, it's not unreasonable. Think about it. Once Bitcoin gets to 150,000, is anyone going to really think that it's not going to get to 300,000? And once Bitcoin gets to 300,000, is anyone really going to think that it's not going to get to 500,000? And once it's at 500,000, don't you think $1 million right around the corner, right? That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Like right now at 33,000, 50,000 doesn't seem so far-fetched. But if you asked that question maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you would think 50,000 is far-fetched. That's just how it is, right? Things move very, very quickly, and your mentality, your mindset changes very quickly as well. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash up the likes, subscribe to the channel, right? Those of you guys that's a little bit worried about XRP, you know, Grayscale basically dumping them, and you know how OCC, you know, there's a decision with the banks. That's probably going to hurt XRP in a little bit. So in case you guys are worried, I do have something that might motivate you, that might make you stay in the game. All right, so take a look and have a good one.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.